Welcome back into the ASUG News Studio. My name is Tom Wilgum. I'm one of the co-hosts here live on the SBOUC 2013 show floor. Well, we are giving over the reins to the studio to the fellows from the DS Layer podcast. They are a great group, big-time ASUG members, and great group of guys are going to come up here and talk tonight. This is a tweet up, so there's a Twitter hashtag that's going out, hashtag DS Layer. Yeah. So send in your comments. We're going to have some cool stuff. We're going to take questions from the audience, so I expect heckling, good questions, lots of good stuff coming out of there. So, guys, take it away. The studio is yours. Eric, have fun.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah,
thanks, Tom.
We are really happy to be back, and thanks ASUG News for having the courage and not resenting us enough to let us come back again. Yeah, so this is a continuation of the panel discussion we just had upstairs on the Network of Truth. So if you have no idea who we are, because I see a few new faces, my pal, Jamie Oswald.
Jamie Oswald, Mercy Health and ASUG volunteer.
Yep. Greg Myers.
EV Technologies, ASUG volunteer.
Dallas Motors.
EV Technologies, ASUG volunteer.
Oh yeah, and Eric Vallow, EV Technologies, just here, happy to be here. So, and this year we have matching uniforms. We got it together. So, yeah. Hi. It's
Photobomb. Anyway.
Where's the sign? So let's recap. Where have we been in the last hour in the Network of Truth? Greg?
So I think one of the major points that came out is that the Network of Truth is really just something new to call something that's been around for a very long time. And it's business users avoiding the use of IT and our single version of the truth in our data warehouse. The spread marts, the Excel data sources, the personal data files in Webby Rich Client, and even Desky, right? It's stuff that's always been there. We just have something to label it. And I think that, again, one of the themes that really struck me coming out of the panel was that we always rejected it in the past as, as IT professionals. We said, you must use single version of the truth. Use Webby, use Crystal, right? But now we're saying more that there's value in that Network of Truth and we should embrace it as IT.
Yeah, although I don't know that we said it as much as the business said, hey, by the way, we're embracing this Network of Truth.
And Dallas, you made a point. Is this fad or a trend?
So I think it's a little bit of both. So the tools that SAP and other vendors are bringing to the Network of Truth market, it's basically an acknowledgement that we are unable to bring data to the data warehouse in a responsive or agile enough fashion. So we're going the other way and saying, let's take a tool to the source of the truth and let's give them better tools, particularly meaning beyond Microsoft Excel, and let's put better tools in the hands of the people who are still basically performing the similar tasks that they are. So that's the trend part of it. I do think the fad part of it is, I think what we'll see, maybe 5 or 10 years from now is the tool vendors responding and making Agile BI more of a reality. So the process for data modeling, the process for ETL, right now it's cumbersome and our users have to wait a long time for it. So seeing innovation, and then I think it will be a trend from the standpoint that I think we'll see the pendulum start moving back in the other direction. But Network of Truth, it's just, like Greg said, it's just really putting a label on something. We have to admit that our users, they're doing analysis outside of the tools that we provide them, and that's always been the case.
So I think one of the most interesting things I got out of our session was that nobody has the exact same definition of what Network of Truth means, right? So we sat in there for an hour, and I think we all walked out and still weren't quite on the same page. And I think that speaks to, the way that the organization that people are a part of view it, the way that customers view it versus the way partners view it versus the way the vendor views it. So I think that's that's one big thing that's still going on, is just figuring out, exactly what are we talking about, right? Are we trying to replace your Crystal and your Webby, or are we bringing something new in, to allow you to do things that you could never do before?
So one of the things that came up, right, was is it a marketing term applied over the top of something I'm going to shout out right there in the front row?
Well, I mean, clearly it's was coined by some people in the marketing team, but I do still think it's something that strikes a chord with within any organization, right? I mean, there's a reason why the vendors that go after this market have been selling to departments, because IT just has not been delivering what they need fast enough. So to me it's a very real need. It's just, are we capable of delivering it with the tools we are trying to?
So I think we got the recap. Yeah?
Yep.
So I think where we left it with you all, well, part of you all, was we were going to talk about who the network of truth really is. So on one hand, we've heard the network is everybody, and on the other hand, I think it's the people that generate data. They create analytics that others want to consume. I always think back to that old school BusinessObjects pyramid. 80% of the users consume data, maybe 15 know enough to be dangerous, and 5% are the true network of truth. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that sounds
You could say yes,
about right. Yeah.
I think that's right, but then I think, that number is also expanding because of the technology that's available. I don't think it's as exclusive a group as it used to be. I think the technology now is empowering more people to be, they're business experts, but maybe they weren't comfortable with the technology, and I think it's enabling them to get at data in ways that they couldn't get at it before.
But don't you still have to be a master of some domain of data to really contribute to the network of truth?
You have to be a master of a business, of your area of expertise. It doesn't necessarily, data. If you know the information you're going after, the question you need to have asked, you may not know exactly how to ask it, but if the technology can ask that for you, then I think that's kind of opening up. Jamie, you disagree?
Well, so I think that you're right, but I think that what we'll find is that there is a serious skills gap between what people are doing today and where they really need to get to make this happy utopia happen, right? It's very easy to say, here's a tool, have it go fix it, but you've still got to be technical enough to use it and go forward. And I think that the people that are comfortable enough to do that is a much smaller group than we're comfortable with. And whether you want to call them data scientists or analysts or informaticists or whatever, I still think that it's a lot easier to say we need those than to have those.
But if it's easier than Excel, you still feel that way?
It's tough to find a tool easier than Excel, because if you don't like the number, you can just type over it.
That's true.
So,
Leave a comment, move on. Was there a question or just a heckler?
Cheering us on. Keep going.
We do have a question from Twitter. Tom, what's the name of the encoding guy? I don't think that's for us exactly.
Gentlemen, we've got a question here.
Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing that it's true. They type over things all the time.
yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, most people assume that most fiction is written in Word, but it's really written in Excel. Right, so that's
Is that it from Dilbert?
No, I don't know what it's from. I'm very good at quoting things without having any real idea from where they came.
Little problem with citation?
Yeah.
So,
Hold on, we got another question, guys.
Apologies.
Please introduce yourself.
Gabe Orthos McKesson. We never talked about, and I'd like to get your point of view on technology and how SAP brings technology like HANA, for example, into this idea of network of truthiness. So can you expand and talk about all the products, right? So from the Lumira side all the way back to HANA to the existing legacy products like Webby, Crystal, and dashboards.
I'll take a crack. I think there's three problems to solve ultimately, and I'm not sure any of the tools do it perfectly or well, but the first is getting out of the spreadsheet and into something more robust that tells a story. Obviously, I think Lumira is SAP's attempt to answer that in the network of truth. The second is data governance. We touched on this in the panel upstairs, right? Somehow, we still have to go from this tactical solution that we don't necessarily know about as IT, understand what it is, and you as a business user, why you're doing it, and turning it into a repeatable process that maybe IT can help you manage. And then thirdly is that social BI that we talked about as well. I'm not sure that's Jam, and I'm not sure that was ever Streamwork. But how, like the Wikipedia example that Timo gave us, how do we really make a social and collaborative application that proliferates BI across that network of truth? And I think those are the three technical facets that can help the network of truth along.
So I think one thing that does often get confused is people try to compare, just to go very tool specific, people try to compare Lumira to ClickView or Tableau or something right away. And I think that that's a bit of an unfair comparison, right? Because, ClickView and Tableau had been around for a while, and they built a lot of, or have tried to build a lot of more enterprise-friendly features into their tool set, right? So you can create a report in ClickView and things like that. And so I think when you sit down and try to compare them head to head, it's not really fair because SAP sells you the suite, so you're not trying to do everything in one tool, right? I think you have your use cases for Lumira, you still have your use cases for Crystal and Webby and things like that. And I think that causes a little bit of confusion for users too. Because, your marketing department will go and buy some other tool because it's everything, even though you have 7 or 8 pieces of everything inside of your enterprise deployment.
Well, I think regardless of the tool you put in the front, you have to think about what HANA can bring in the back. We talk about our traditional data warehouse. You extract data from all these different sources, you bring it in, you join it up in ETL, you sanitize it, you aggregate it, you load it into whatever data warehouse. If you can take all of that data from those disparate sources and load them into HANA, structured or unstructured, you do all those aggregates in memory. That's not stuff that has to be done in the ETL process. It collapses that process and makes it much faster and much more efficient, regardless of the tool you use to visualize it on. So I think that piece in the back alone saves so much time and it gains so much speed and agility.
I guess I'm curious, why do you guys think that the tools that we've had to date didn't fulfill the network of truth, the need that's there?
Well, I think they're just a little bit too hard, right? I mean, I think that Webby and Crystal are fine for people who are very comfortable with tools, but they're never going to be as easy as Excel, right? They're not going to be as intuitive as a tool like that. You just have to do so many things to get it there. You've got to create the query, you've got to format the report, you've got to add input controls and stuff like that. And so I think a lot of the new breed of tools just make those steps far easier.
Well, I think we kind of stepped on our own feet for a while there too, right? Because Desky, the rich client, was sort of the de facto analyst tool for a while. And we're like, well, let's shift this all to Webby. And the focus kind of came off the analyst tool and more to a consumption with Webby, the mass distribution. So they gave us Webby Rich Client, which was okay because we could use the personal data files again, but it was still kind of cumbersome to use. And now I think that Lumira is meant to kind of fill that gap. It's that new analyst tool. It's much easier to use. It's less complex. It's a lot more intuitive. So, I think that focus on the analyst that was lost has been regained.
I think we had a question.
Yeah, we got a question from the crowd here.
Hello, this is Paul Hawk. I had a question for you guys. You're talking about Lumira, and when we heard about the feature where users can start uploading their own data to the database, I was wondering how you see that changing things, and are you afraid of that?
Yes.
Actually, I'm not afraid of that at all because in places where I've worked with big data warehouses, most of the people, the power users, the analysts, would have their own schema as a database anyway. So they're going to pull stuff out, put it in, roll it around, and if it became useful, then we operationalize it into its own data mart. So I don't see that being any different. It's just making it a little easier for them than having that other cumbersome piece of what they had.
I come from a different background though, where other databases, not HANA, but it was easy for a bad user to do a bad thing and ruin the whole database for everyone, right? It just happened. It was a reality. So can that happen today? In Lumira's context and HANA, I don't think so, maybe. But I think, again, it comes down to a question of governance. How do I make sure that somebody that has the ability to put data back into HANA is educated and is a trusted power user and part of that network of the truth, not just Jamie?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's all of the decisions your company makes today already have some risk built into them because it's, somebody took 3 different reports, exported them all to Excel and did whatever. So if you think that you're not at risk now, I think you're a little bit crazy, I'd say.
We got another question, one from the crowd, an anonymous question. Where did the name of the podcast come from? Where did that come from? And then Noel's got a question here. So.
Oh, off topic, huh? Well, so Jamie and I were
Drunk.
probably, yeah, 3 years ago. So we just had our 3rd anniversary, right? And we were trying to come. We said, hey, who else is cool? So we called Greg, and Greg was all in, and we tried to think of something that was representative of what we did, which was the semantic layer, and
We're very different.
not.
So when 4.0 was originally announced, instead of calling it the universe,
Yeah.
SAP had adopted the term the common semantic layer.
Right.
And so the diversified semantic layer is kind of an alternate semantic layer, an alternate perspective.
You see what we did right there?
It was really a play on a term that SAP, I guess, really doesn't use anymore. We don't hear the term common semantic layer
No,
as much.
and we really wanted the longest domain name known to man. So
I think the person who asked that question wish they hadn't now, but I'm going to turn it over to Noel.
No, he's a nerd. Dallas does it all. This is a business guy, and I'm just here to be sexy.
he's got it. Noah.
Hey guys, I'm Noelle Hollis. I'm from Newell Rubbermaid. If you don't know who I am, I feel like everyone does, but it's a little scary. My question was, you're talking about the network of truthiness and that SAP has so many different tools. What's your take on kind of tool ambiguity? Your user going in and not knowing, oh, I'm using Lumira for this, or I'm using Explorer for this, or Webby for this.
I'm not touching that one.
I think on the consumption side, the users have never really been aware of what the true source, what tool was used to create the solution. To them it's just, in XI 3.1 it's InfoView, and in 4.0 it's the Launchpad, and they may overhear us, throw out different terms of what we use to build the solution, but to them it's just the BI portal.
But I think resolving that. So I think SAP has too many tools in their toolbox, right? And I think that they know that. I don't know if they can hear us right now, but I think that they know that. I think, I think that the problem for us is it's just about education, And I think if we can clearly define a decision tree where this is when you use this tool, this is when you use this tool, I think that helps a lot. But you're always going to have the crystal guy who every problem he sees is going to be a crystal solution, right? And the Webby girl who every time she sees that is going to be a Webby solution. So.
You guys are popular. We have another question.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Softball, Donald, softball.
So, Donald McCormick here. Jamie, you just said something very interesting. You said business objects obviously have too many tools. So if you play product manager king for a day, which ones do you get rid of?
Desky.
The product that will never die.
Yeah. So I would probably, it would take 30 years, right? But you eventually merge Crystal and Webby into something that sort of handles reporting, right? You keep something like Lumira, which allows for sort of that agile visualization. And I think you probably move a lot of the features of Explorer and exploration views into that tool as well. And I think some of the stuff we saw this morning looked like they were beginning to do that. So I think that seems fairly obvious. Yeah. Dashboards is,
Go ahead, say it.
yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I think clearly the future is Design Studio for that, but I think it's going to be a while before we get there.
It's a long and windy road.
Yeah.
I mean, really, how easy is it to rip tools from the clutches of users? I mean, ask the Dusky All-Stars.
Yeah.
Or the DCP, it's back again, so no disrespect. So, I think for us, the network of truth is valid. It's a label as much as anything, and it's about working with SAP in a constructive way to create tools that facilitate it and make it not shadow IT or dark data or whatever
Whatever we're afraid of.
Yeah, comic book character.
It's embracing what's been going on It's been going on all along. So, we just need it to be able to kind of wrap it into the fold, get some governance on it, not to make it too cumbersome, but to embrace it and bring it into that fold. And like Timo was saying, he just left, but that Wikipedia model, right? Where it's the tribal knowledge of everyone put together. It's still moderated, but it's not the Wild West, but it's more open than that single version of the truth. Yeah.
I think it creates an opportunity for IT to be a pal to the business. Instead of saying, oh, your base are belong to us, we work with them to give them the tools to do what they've always done.
Yeah. Yeah, and govern it and know what's going on in it and audit it and all that stuff.
And yell at them when they, are bad. You know who you are. So I think that probably puts 2 hours of the network of truth to bed, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah?
All of your questions answered?
Yeah. All 4,000 of you that came, thank you. But we would still love to see you at 8 o'clock. So at the House of Blues at Downtown Disney. So let's have some adult beverages.
Yep. And enjoy the rest of your conference. Don't forget there's Dev Wars tomorrow night and REO Speedwagon the night after that.
Right on.
Both of which are going to be a lot of fun.
Good.
Jamie can't fight this feeling anymore.
Don't touch me. Thank you. Ciao.
All right, so we still have to sit here.